Hello there.
Hey,
Welcome to the IB Squad. This is our first video. We will be discussing testing.
Test exams, testing prep.
So anyways, in the IB program, you'll face many challenges. At the end of the year, mostly 1 or 2 years, depending on if you're taking standard or higher level, you'll take the final exam. And for this exam, it is recommended to at least study for it 1 month prior to your exam dates.
For sure.
Now, if you were not a procrastinator, unlike me, you would have studied this material over the course of the 2 years and not be in this situation. But since you've come here, we'll naturally help you guide your way through this stressful period.
And remember, every test is different. English and history exams, way different from math and science exams. So make sure you're studying the skills appropriate for the exams you're taking.
We're gonna be talking about IB exam prep today, and honestly, I'm gonna start with the sciences, specifically biology. Now, I'll be honest, when you're prepping for biology, I think you should prep as soon as possible. Some people do a month, some people do a week. Honestly, just plan it out, and then as long as you study, you'll be fine. You also have to take into account for other exams such as history, math, and it can really be a lot. So I suggest start as soon as possible. Back on the bio, what I was talking about. So for bio, honestly, throughout the year, you studied a lot of bio, and it's a lot of units, and I think they're changing the curriculum, but I'm going based off the 2023. It should still kind of be the study method should kind of be the same, but as for studying, you can look at if your teacher did one-pagers, you can look back through the curriculum to study that, but that's kind of a bit much. So what I would recommend is using this thing called Bio Ninja. It has a lot of organized notes, and it's honestly has every single unit. It is specifically for IB, so it's gonna be extremely helpful. And also once you're done, just go through each unit each day. Schedule a day where you want to study through the unit, do some practice problems as well for whatever you're studying, and also study the things that you're the weakest on, so you can kind of balance it out, because you're already strong on one thing, so why don't you study the thing that you're weak on, just in case it comes up on this test. And then also, once you use Bio Ninja, you studied it a couple of days, I'd say use practice tests. Just look up practice tests. I don't know. You can just look it up, and if you can't find it, I'll be honest, they might have some on Reddit. It's kind of Reddit, I don't know. They have a lot of sources for practice tests. So for biology, just look up paper 2, paper 1, and I believe paper 3. I'm not really sure, but look up the practice papers. Do them, do multiples of them, because I remember using the practice papers, and it was they actually had the same, almost the same exact questions on the practice test. I was like, what? I actually saved my life. But yeah, I just say use a practice test, use a source use a source you can study from Bio Ninja, honestly. Or you can look up YouTube videos, whatever works for you. But yeah, number 1 tip, study ahead, use your sources, and practice a lot, and yeah, you'll be good. Anyone want to move on to the next?
I think... Oh, you can go.
On the topic of sciences, I had taken physics HL. So for physics HL, I had noticed that I was not really good at studying, especially when it came to in class. So it really depends on how you study the material. First of all, for example, if you were to go on a website and they give you all the notes, usually for sciences, I usually use Save My Exams. But their website has a lot of notes, and to understand all those notes and remember all of that is too much for me. For physics, it really depended on the formulas and using them in the right situation. So what I had actually done was I watched YouTube videos. Those were my go-to for studying for physics. And I usually would recommend studying at least 2 weeks beforehand. it is quite a lot of material to cover. And I usually watch the OSC guy. He has pretty good informative videos for the physics curriculum. And the questions that he used in his videos were usually what they would normally ask you on the test. If you study more than 2 weeks ahead, you usually have some extra time to be able to go through practice tests. Those are useful, but the most important thing is understanding the concepts first. Because no matter how many practice tests you go through, if you don't get the concepts, it does not matter. You will understand that question, but they're not going to ask you the same question on the test. It's going to be naturally a bit different. So if you don't understand how the formulas work, how to use all of them, it will not go as planned. And also, usually during this time period, you will have to study and go to school unless you can somehow get some time off of school, which means that 2 weeks ahead here is as in full day studying from morning till basically night, which is a lot more time than you would expect. So do plan ahead for that. Also take into consideration if you're full IB, you do not have all the time in the world to study for that one single subject, which is why it's also important to balance out your time. So in reality, you just have to be good at time management.
And also, as someone who's taken both the physics and biology test, I can confirm with Min that physics, as long as if you understand the concepts, most of physics, it interconnects or connects in some way, and understanding the concepts is key to passing the test and doing good on the test, because you can connect every idea. And if you know, and they give you formula packets. They give you formula packets, so you don't have to memorize any of the useless, like hard to remember formulas. As long as you know what you should be looking out for on a physics test, you should be okay. When it comes to biology, however, biology is definitely more about memorization and like understanding materials. Biology isn't as interconnected, so it really is more about memorizing each different like types of cells, types of organisms, types of, like, you have to memorize specific diseases, specific models of diseases. You have to, it's all about the memorization of everything. It's less so about there's not a lot of math, there's not a lot of like interconnectedness in biology. There is some interconnectedness, but when you see it, it's more like an Easter egg rather than an actual helpful concept.
On the topic of biology, something I forgot to mention is for paper 3, you'll have a section, and for the section you want to make sure you like study one section, like one section that you want to do. Like I believe they had ecology, human physiology, and a couple of other sections, but you want to make sure that you find a section that you like, that like you study up on, and then like do that section within the test. Of course you'll have to do section A because that's mandatory, but once you're done with that, you can pick any other section you want and just pick the one that really resonates with you, I guess, and that you feel like you remember the most. And yeah, just use that one. So, anyone else want to?
I think we got the sciences covered well.
Yeah. Let's move on to the history.
History, yeah. So, history, you're definitely gonna wanna. Mostly, a lot of times there are assignments throughout the year that you can look back on to review. Like maybe you did a reading and there was a note package attached to that, and you really want to look at those resources because that's most likely going to follow pretty much everything that you did. And I know different history classes cover different subjects for HL and SL, but that's how you know what material is going to be on the test. Also, if you look at the practice papers that your teacher gives you, most likely you're going to see the type of topics that you will need to study. I'd say just make sure, like you can really just delve into whatever, like maybe you want to go on Wikipedia or Britannica and look at, like start on one article and look at like related articles, because I know that helped me a lot with learning the materials that were going to be on the test. Like maybe I didn't even know something was going to be on the test, but I just looked at it because I was curious anyway, and then it ended up being on the test, so that's really helpful.
YouTube videos are helpful too.
Oh yeah, summary YouTube videos, those definitely help you to remember, to lock in to the history. And also, most of IB history, I think, is writing, so you really want to make sure you have your essay structure down. I think they have some points for just your writing in general. So you gotta, because you can get those extra points if you don't know exactly what you're talking about. If you know how to write a good essay, that'll help you. And hopefully you've been writing those throughout your IB courses, I would think. So I think that you just want to review a little bit before starting, because there's definitely going to be a lot of essays that you're going to want to do.
Okay, but like here's the thing, all right? So for history in particular, the thing about history is it's divided into 3 papers for HL. For SL, I think it was only 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, anyway, so for paper 1, it's about civil rights, at least for year 2024. I don't know
Oh,
how.
no, you can
No.
choose a section.
Yeah.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's from different sections with like,
Yeah.
but so your teacher would usually teach you one of those sections.
So
Yeah.
we were taught
We were taught
civil
the
rights.
civil
Yeah.
rights of America and Africa, South Africa.
Mhm.
So for that section, you just need to learn about that particular history. Now for paper 2 and paper 3, usually you can double dip. What I mean here is that usually you can just study one topic that will appear on both paper 2 and 3. For example, for paper 3, you have to write, if I was correct, it was 3 essays? Or was it 2?
Yeah, paper
Yes.
3 was
Paper
3
3 was
essays.
3 essays.
2 was 2 essays.
Yeah, 3 essays. They usually give you 2 questions for each of the particular topics. So what I had done was, first of all, I studied the Cold War in particular. And that would usually garner me already 2 questions for paper 3. And for paper 2, I believe Cold War was also a part of it. If some of you guys remember what
I
exactly.
think it was also the Korean War as well, the Mexican Revolution as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So those types of things will be on the paper 2 too. So how that works is then you can just study the 2 different topics of history and usually pass and get around a 6 or 7 depending on how good you've studied those topics. You don't need to know all of the history you've learned, but it does come in handy sometimes when the questions you get don't really help. So do study ahead for those things, but when it comes to history, it's not something that you can do intuitively. It's more about trying to memorize those things. So usually you look for things that stand out. For example, give me an example on
Korean
this.
War?
Yeah, the Korean War.
Okay.
Right. The Korean War with the 2 leaders, this was after World War II. Japan had been in control of Korea before World War II ended, and after that, the U.S. took South Korea, and the USSR took North Korea, gave them a provisional government. But anyways, that's the point. The point here is that as long as you can find a topic that interests you, you will be more likely to remember it. If you can't find something like that, try to find something that sticks out.
Alright, as I was saying, an example would be the Cuban Revolution. Honestly, you want to focus on a topic that interests you, like Amin was saying, and you want to make sure the topic could basically be on paper 2 and paper 3, focusing on those main ideas. And honestly, like my good friend Ezra was saying, use honestly any website you want, like Wikipedia. If it's like, it's not a credible source exactly, but it can give you background knowledge on what the event is about, and then you can go further into it in different sources. So find something that interests you, like use Wikipedia. And also Wikipedia can be used to find like more informative sources and primary sources, so you can get even more information on that specific topic. And anything else you want to add about history, then?
I think also paper 1,
Mhm.
that one you don't need to study as much for, because they give you like, it's just you want to make sure you can evaluate sources, which you probably did on your IA. So you probably have that one good because all you need to do is write about what you're reading in front of you. So that one, all you need to worry about is time, really.
Does not require a lot of background knowledge. You will get more points, or you will get you can acquire more points by throwing in background knowledge about your topic and about the given topic. But for the most part, the questions are structured in a way that you can answer them with the sources and with the like. Sometimes they give you pictures, or they give you quotes, or they give you speeches, or they give you paragraphs. It's mostly built around those things that they give you, so you should be able to answer most of the questions and get full points with the stuff they give you. But you can also, if you throw in stuff background knowledge that you already know, you can make up for some points that you lost there.
What I've also noticed is that for what I've seen anyways is that people usually use entry into global war as one of their topic one paper ones, because those also correlate to paper 2 and sometimes paper 3. I'm not exactly sure about paper 3, I don't remember much about it, but since the entry to global war is World War One, that does involve paper 2 too, so you can always go for that if you do have time.
All right.
Well, I think that is for specifically 20th century, but there are other topics, so normally there will be a large event that includes multiple of the areas that you're focusing on, or a large area.
Yeah. Similarly to history, though, one topic I'd like to talk about is English, which is what you'll also be doing. English, honestly, it's really hard to prepare for English. Honestly, I'd say it's more of like the skills you've built up throughout the 2 years of being in IB, since it's prepared you essentially for like writing. You're writing a lot in IB. So essentially, it's just like your talent in like writing. Like make sure you have your essay structure down, like knowing how to write an essay, and also like your analyzing skills, how well you can like analyze a structure of like a paragraph like that they give you, and also as well as like being prepared for the comparative essay, like just having like the 2 works that you want, and then using those, and like knowing the information and knowing like the different types of like prompts they can give you, such as like, well, how do these 2 demonstrate tone, like being ready for those types of things. And I think one of my other colleagues can talk more about that.
So for English and the paragraph analysis, make sure you know how to color mark. If you don't know how to color mark, it's going to be very difficult for you. They will provide you with colored pencils, or you should be allowed to have colored pencils with you. If not, you can mark it up with your pen. So when you're color marking, make sure you're looking out for like authorial choices. Make sure you're looking out for literary devices. Those are the big 2 things that will get you points. Literary devices and authorial choices. If you bring those up and you structure it like Oreo style paragraph, introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion, that if you know how to do that, and you know how to bring up authorial choices, and you know how to organize everything, you should be able to get most of the points, and you should be able to obtain most of the points you should have available to you. So when it comes to the comparative essay, which is I believe paper 3 or paper 2, the comparative essay is more about being prepared with the books that you want to write about. You'll be given 4 questions, and make sure of the books that you studied, you choose the 2 that you're most confident that you can well prepare for, regardless of the question you're given, that you can analyze in any way, regardless of the question, regardless of how much you've like prepared for it. If you have these 2 books, you should be able to use them on the comparative essay, and regardless of the question, you should be able to use them. So that's all the paper 3 is. Just again, for Oreo style paragraph, make sure you know how to analyze your books. Assuming that you've already read the books, which you should have, make sure you've analyzed them properly and you understand the themes and you understand the concepts of the books. Then you should be able to compare them in regards to the question. So, yeah.
I would say that you're giving quite a lot of time for the English papers. And since you're writing on paper, you really want to make sure you have a solid outline before you start doing anything. Want to make sure you have at least 3 points that you're going to talk about throughout the essay for the body paragraphs that outline authorial choices. But you definitely will have enough time after you make a solid outline to write the paper. So make sure you do that no matter what.
Adding on to that, yes, for paper one, it is definitely very recommended to spend maybe around 20 minutes on the on making the outline, because without an outline, it is going to be troublesome to write a whole thesis and then the 3 body paragraphs. And since you might encounter new ideas as you continue writing, you need to revise your thesis over and over again, and you do not want that, because that will be a waste of time that you will have to go back and redo it. So it is recommended to spend maybe around 20 minutes or less on the preparing for the outline. And also for the comparative essay, the thing here is that you cannot use works that you have used on other assignments, such as the internal assessment or the
HL essay and the IO, the oral.
Yeah, the oral. You cannot use the same works you've used for those. So the thing about the comparative essay is find 2 works where you can compare them. Like, for example, if a work deals with struggles of sorrow and grief, and a different work deals with the same struggles, that would be a great comparative essay. Or you could always choose a work that contrasts those, because then you could compare it in that way. Adding on to that, the questions for the comparative essay are decently vague. I would not say that they are so vague that I could make up anything and write on that topic. But usually you have 2 or 3 questions that you'll be answered with any kind of 2 works that you have. It will not be too much trouble. And adding on to that, some things that are good to note for on those 2 works are, first of all, the setting. So sometimes they ask a question about setting, sometimes about authorial choices, like Jackson said, and literary devices, but mostly just focus on what kind of similarities and differences they have in between those works. Those are usually the things that will help you write your essay.
So, on the opposite side of the spectrum from English, we should talk about math. Math is like the sciences, except it's literally just math.
No cap, I'll be honest. All you gotta do is, for math, all you gotta do is basically know what you're doing.
For math, I think a lot of the time you want to really know your formulas is the main thing.
Yeah.
The ones
Whether or
that
not
aren't on the packet.
Yeah, they give
whether or
you
not you I know there are a lot of different math tests for different levels. Some of them you get formula packets, which is very helpful. Some of them you are using or are not using calculators. But either way, you really want to know your formulas and that you can execute them well. Because even if you have a calculator, if you don't know how to do your equation, it's not going to work out too well. Or even if you have a formula packet, if you don't know how to use the formulas on the packet, it's also not going to do too well. And when you're going through the paper, I would say you probably want to skip over the questions that you don't know how to answer right away, because this one is one of the more time-consuming tests that you might run out of time on. So you do want to come back to questions later that are challenging. Yeah.
Oh, then what I would say about the math test in particular is, first of all, before knowing any of the formulas, before knowing any of the calculator methods, do know the basic algebraic skills needed to solve any of these problems.
If you don't know Algebra 2, you're good.
Most of these problems will deal with having to change the equation in a way to solve. If you do not know your exponent rules, your log rules, all those kinds of different rules, you will not be able to even answer the first question. Now, after getting through with all those basic skills that you should already know at this point in time, if you do not go review them, spend at most 1 whole day, sit down and focus. Those skills are not too difficult to comprehend as long as you actually spend time on it. And usually what I do, for example, if I need to know exponent rules, I write it all down on a sheet, make sure I have it all memorized, and then I usually give myself some exponent equations where I have to change the equation and the rules and make it into a different equation. Those kinds of problems usually test those skills. But I would not spend more than 1 day if you're already this late and preparing for IB testing. It is not gonna go well. Now, after having all those skills, what you need to focus on is, first of all, your formula packet. This is the second most important thing that you'll need for the math exam. The calculator methods and steps, sure, I can see how some problems will be required to use a calculator, but those kinds of problems are few, not too many, that you couldn't do with just normal method solving. So focus on the formulas. Usually they give you the whole formula packet, and all those formulas are mostly used on the test, except there are some formulas, like the others have said, that are not given to you. Like, for example, they expect you to know the exponent rules. They expect you to know chain rule if you're doing anything on derivatives. They expect you to know that when it comes to like log and log of something, the derivative of the log of something, and all that. And also for integration, they expect you to know some of the stuff. So you should see what is on the packet and what you are supposed to know about the topic, and make the most out of those things. Since math is a topic that you can just look at a formula and use it most of the time, it will not be too much trouble if you remember what that formula was used for and how to use it in context. Alongside that, it is also important to note that some parts of the math exams you will need to use a calculator. Usually it is a TI-84 in this case, most of the time. Depends on the school, depends on what you have, and depends on the regulations. But most of those calculators are usually around the capabilities of a TI-84. And there are some things that you need to know how to do, like certain functions on the calculator that you need to know how to do. It is good and recommended to review those. Now, if you are studying this, I would recommend, depending on how good you are in math, if you feel that your math is very weak, it is good to spend more than a week on it. But I know as you don't have too much time, it will not go so well. Now, the reason why I use YouTube videos is, first of all, I can put them on 2 times speed or 1.5 times speed. And so the videos are not as long as they make it out to be. And also, for notes, the notes are a bit more confusing. I'm more of an intuitive learner. And so when I see someone do something, I can usually start learning from that instead of having to read off instructions, and it doesn't stick in my head. It doesn't stay in my head. So I usually watch YouTube videos to help me understand math. But most importantly, you need to figure out your way to study any topic. Because no matter what topic works for another person, it may not work for you. The most important is to understand what kind of capabilities you are capable of and what kind of study methods are well suited to your habits and your likes. So definitely find that out first before anything else.
And that will apply to every test. Make sure you have your priorities straight. If you excel in English and you excel in history, maybe focus more on your math and sciences, so you can get those out of the way. And some of the when it comes to the math and sciences, they usually take a little longer to study for. So I would anticipate studying for those, or start studying for those heavily before you start studying for English and history, because English and history are more similar and they're more intuitive, and you can, yeah.
Wait.
This
For
is
the
the
span-
IB squad.
This is the IB
The
squad.
squad.
Yo,
Signing out.
Signing out. Alright guys, it's the IB squad again.
Back at it.
Back at it again. Guys, I'm gonna be a professional. My bag.
I think Mr. Sharon should make a guest appearance.
For example, I had remembered the Rape of Belgium because the title itself had stood out quite a lot. I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. I was quite surprised that they would actually name it something like that. And that had helped me remember this kind of material. But that's just an extreme example. I do not recommend doing the same thing. But the point here is,
Cut that little bit out.
Kelly, nah, bro. Why did he use that example?
Use any example.
well, I didn't know other examples. I was too much under pressure, okay?
Okay, just keep talking. We'll cut that part out.
Yeah, find things that stick out to you. For example,
For example, the Mexican Revolution, Castro. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. You just want.
That was the Cuban Revolution. Castro is in the Cuban.
yeah, you fucked that up.
Okay, I'll cut that out.
Cut it up. Wait, give me 5 seconds. Why are you still here? First of all, you should have been studying during this time. What are you doing here? That's
Okay.
my question.
Ignore men. Very good.
You are that guy.
Very good.
Oh, wait.
This
For
is
the
the
span-
IB squad.
This is the Ivy
The
squad.
squad.
Yeah,
Signing out.
Signing out.